T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Love.
I'm J-Boy.
I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir, fellas. We're back and better than ever. Joke to start the show. Okay, it's a little bit lengthy, but bear with me. Man goes to his doctor having trouble hearing. Doctor says, well, here you go. Go out and get some hearing aids. That'll help. Man goes out, gets the hearing aids, goes home. A few weeks later, he goes back to his doctor. Doctor asks, did you tell your family about the hearing aids? Man says, no. I just listened to what they were talking about. And then I changed my will 3 times.
Oh, see, that sounds too real. You gotta have, because I can believe that.
That's the punchline didn't work for you. And T-Dog goes mute on us. Goes mute.
That was a mute point, wasn't it?
Mute point. Well, that takes us back a day or two. All right, let's get on with this tomfoolery here. NFL Week 1 is in the books. We're glad you're here. Can you believe it? We survived another summer without football, but it's back. And we're here to break it down for you. We're your one-stop shop. So let's start there, Lugs. How are you? And, give me just your favorites, your highlights, your lowlights from Week 1. Wherever you want to take it. It's kind of the potpourri toss-up question. Take it away.
My favorite game was the Lions-Rams game. I've been very slow to get on the Lions bandwagon,
Yes,
but I
you
got to
have.
say, those running backs, David Montgomery especially, it was a pleasure to watch. I mean, that was a game of 2 heavyweights going at it. Stafford had his moments. And my question is, Cooper Kupp, I think I could probably keep up with him in a 40, right? He's not that fast, and yet the man caught 14 passes. How does he do it? I just don't know. Anyway, that was my favorite of the weekend. There are other games that I thought were interesting in and of themselves. I mean, let's be honest. The Aaron Rodgers experiment is over in New York. He killed that team by bringing in Nathaniel Hackett and Lazard.
What'd you say, Lazard?
Alan Lazard.
Yeah, you used to call him Lizard back in the day. I remember that on this program. You called him Lizard, but his real name is Lazard. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's true. What else? Anything else, or toss it?
I was just saying dog.
Dog.
Dog. I was going to say one of my games that was a highlight for me was Sunday, but the other one was a few days prior. I'll start with that one. Thursday night game, 2 heavyweights going at it, and 2 of the few teams in the league that actually seemed like they were playing Week 1 instead of playing the preseason where it counts. Where it seemed like that's what a lot of teams were doing this week, this Sunday. But Ravens versus Chiefs, I just want to say, not that they needed to be, but KC's offense is going to be scary this year. I mean, Xavier Worthy, they haven't even really completely ripped him out of the box yet, but he had 47 yards receiving, 21 yards rushing, 2 TDs going both ways. He's a deep threat, but he's also a gadget guy. Rashid Rice, he's their meat and potatoes guy who can run crossers. Hollywood Brown, who was out this game, gives him another deep and intermediate threat. And then Travis Kelce is Mahomes' simpatico safety blanket. I know he's one of our guys, but Lamar, he was for the most part awesome in this game. And, I'm happy to see, he lost that weight to get back to running again. He had 122 yards rushing, and he threw for 273 yards passing. I mean, he did everything he could, but it seemed when the moment got big, he missed that open target to Likely in the back of the end zone, and he missed Flowers at the end of the game. The Ravens are going to be fine. They definitely feel like they're a playoff team, but this one's going to sting for a long time. And my other game that was Sunday is Texans versus Colts. Anthony Richardson is going to be fun to watch this year, but he has to be more consistent if the Colts are going to win. I mean, he only completed 47% of his passes. It was 9 completions for 212 yards, but he missed a Donnie Mitchell on a wide open end zone pass. And just also kind of like KC, Texans have all the elements of a true contender. Quarterback who distributes the ball to open man, 8 guys caught the ball, multiple receivers that can cause coverage issues, a running game, and Joe Mixon, who looks rejuvenated with 159 yards rushing and a TD, and a defense that causes sacks and turnovers, 2 sacks, 1 INT. And, I don't know if the Colts are going to be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be a pretty solid team. And for them to go into, Lucas Oil and kind of, take it to them for the most part, I thought it was very impressive. What about you, J-Boy?
Oh, man, I got to go with, the 100th anniversary of the New York Football Giants. They come out with those really fine-looking uniforms. Here's the thing, guys. No one was around 100 years. Okay, what, 1% of the people were. But Giant fans, nobody remembers what they wore. They could make up anything, right? They could be, but that's what they chose? Okay, number one. They bring out Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms, Eli Manning, all the big greats of the Giants era. And then they lay a Vermont volleyball, man. They lay an egg 28-6 to Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Wow, that is a bad football team, and I think Daboll will be the first coach to get the haircut about midway through. Now, Darnold, on the other hand, pretty impressive. Started out 12 for 12. Aaron Jones on fire, transplant from the Packers. I don't know. That was a weird-looking team, and they looked surprisingly good when you take Jordan Addison and you take Justin Jefferson and you take Sam Darnold, who finally has some tools to work with. That could be an interesting team to watch. On the other hand, like I said, the Giants are flat-out bad, and I don't know if they're going to get any better. What do you guys think?
No, I think you're right. It's going to be a very long season for those guys.
Well, I think, Minnesota, I mean, the additions that they made in the offseason for their pass rush, Andrew Van Ginkel already, showing up instantaneously. He had a sack. He had an interception for a touchdown. And their rookie that he better be good because, I think we all kind of liked him maybe but they gave up essentially next year's draft for him, Dallas Turner. Currently, It looks like week 1, maybe it's going to be okay that they're not going to be able to draft anybody next year. But Dallas Turner with a sack. And, again, Brian Flores, he knows how to, obviously he's not going to get any love letters from from Tua, but he does know how to scheme up a defense. And, O'Connell, like J-Boy and I have definitely said, he's one of the best coaches. And I do think Sam Darnold, I don't know if he'll have like a Geno Smith rejuvenation, but I think he was put in such a bad situation with the Jets and Carolina that, again, maybe he's not going to be like a Geno where he becomes a starter again. But, he wasn't as bad as he looked. He was just in such a dreadful situation. And Daniel Jones, they have Malik Neighbors now, and I think he is talented, but I just think Daniel Jones, unfortunately, you hate to say it, maybe he's at that David Carr part of situation where he's just mentally – I know physically he's kind of ravaged, but mentally he's maybe kind of ravaged too, where he's just kind of broken at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody needs to put him out of his misery.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. The rookie QBs, a lot of flack given to some, praise to others. Let's just run through them. Caleb Williams, we'll hit on 3. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. Guys, your take on those guys.
Well, Caleb Williams, I was disappointed. I wanted a little more. He's a rookie, so I'm not going to ask too much of him. But he should be sending a mailogram to Levis.
What is a mailogram, man?
It's money. He needs to go ahead and just go ahead and send that money to Levis, so Levis can have more banana peels and mayonnaise in his coffee, because Levis just threw a pass up for grabs. It was like, eat that ball, you dummy. But anyway, Chicago won that game. They backed into that win thanks to their special teams, honestly. But Caleb had his moments. You could tell he didn't realize yet, or hadn't realized yet, that the guys in the pros, even the big boys, are fast. He's used to outrunning people and doing that dodge and duck, and it just didn't work for him. He will learn. He's got talent, but I was disappointed. I needed a little more from him.
So that mailogram, can I go over there to Kroger customer service and say, can I get a mailogram? And they'll stuff some 20s in an envelope and mail it to Will. As Terry Bradshaw called him, by the way, Will Levitch.
No, you go to the post office.
Post office.
I need a mailogram. I need to send some cash, to my desperate cousin who's hiding out in the Kentucky woods. That's a news reference.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. T-Dog, quarterbacks, man, rookies. Let's move away from that. Yeah, I
don't know where we're going off the rails. I just think, the best thing that Caleb Williams did on Sunday was he didn't turn the ball over. That was it. I mean, he threw 93 yards. He had 15 yards rushing. Hopefully this is his top brain freeze game, but they have the Texans next week, in Houston, so I doubt it. I haven't looked at the schedule week 3. Hopefully he is a little more even keel by week 3. But, the defense bailed him out. Darryl Taylor, who they traded for right before the beginning of the season, he's already paying off. He had 2 sacks in that game. Javon Dexter, their second-round pick, he had a sack. Tyreek Stevens had an INT TD on that Will Levis thing. But then I want to talk about Jaden Daniels, who I think is talented. He would clearly play the best of the 3 guys who started who were rookies. But if you watch, I'm worried about him making it through a season. Again, my Kirk Cousins, Cliff Kingsbury, what he is doing to this man, that his top receivers were Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson out of the backfield for essentially 100 yards passing on 7 completions. That's his top receivers, that they're not even trying to involve Terry McLaurin, who's legitimately a good wide receiver. I have issues with this offense, and that Jaden Daniels ran the ball 16 times for 88 yards and untouched 2 touchdowns. Great. That's great. I mean, if you hadn't played him in fantasy, that was great. But, this man's not going to make it halfway through the season. This is how he's going to have to play.
Not sustainable. So, you're right.
I have clear issues with the play calling, and I'm going to light a prayer candle for Jaden Daniels. What about you, Lugs?
Lugs, come in. Lugs, are you there?
Well, yes, sir. I'm trying to be. We're on the other side of the moon here, kind of. But anyway, the Bo Nix was an interesting start. I mean, he did the typical rookie thing. Again, I don't think they realize how fast these boys are.
True.
And so he gave away two pick sixes there or whatever. So anyway, but it was for me overall the weekend. It was good to get back to football, gang, and not all this piddly, girls waving flags at the Olympics. I'm sorry.
What?
I tried to get in touch with.
Hello. This is Simone Biles' boyfriend.
My feminine side, but I just couldn't get there. I'm sorry.
Girls waving flags. Okay, let's change the topic. The 49ers seem unstoppable. Who was that running back anyway? I mean, come on. Give me a break. They look unbeatable to me. What do you guys think?
I mean, Jordan Mason's been on their team for a while, and he, obviously he's only gotten limited touches, but he's good. But I don't know if you heard during the telecast, during his tenure as head coach, Jordan Mason, when he scored that touchdown, that's the 40th touchdown run by an undrafted running back scored during his tenure as head coach.
Shanahan?
Yeah, so
wow.
he knows how to identify talent, and he just puts them out on the field and the schematics, and that they understand that they are, for the most part, supposed to do one cut and go. He understands it, and obviously he has a little bit of heft to the way he runs it. And I know none of us are. He seems like he's maybe a nice guy, but like the tough man talk that Robert Saleh sometimes does, like at halftime he said, we know we have to stop the run. That's what we're going to do in the second half. My man, don't even say that. You know you're not going to stop them. You didn't even come close to stopping them. I mean, and look, I still think the Jets have a good defense. It's just, again, kind of like the KC and the Texans of the world. Brock Purdy, he's going to get paid a whole lot. I don't know if he should. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, but like he definitely has played to the level of being paid in the top 10 legitimately. Because he does create when sometimes the plays break down. Like, it's not just Kyle Shanahan's system. He does it somewhat on his own. They can put in other running backs. I mean, again, McCaffrey, he's probably going to sit out another few weeks because they don't need him. They need him for the playoff run. They can use Jordan Mason, and they probably have someone else, like, percolating in the, in the bullpen.
Why not?
And they got, Debo's in the best shape of his life. Brandon Ayuk got paid. George Kittle is just a maniac. So, I mean, they're going to go full tilt. They still don't even have, Greenlaw. He's not going to be back till late in the year. But if he comes back and he's healthy, I mean, watch out. And, Lugs, what do you want to say about Aaron Rodgers?
Well, he looked like a man that was wearing concrete shoes. I mean, he was, the passes were sort of there, but, he's rolling his eyes when Lazard drops the first down ball. He's rolling his eyes at the calls that are coming into him. I'm sorry, Aaron, you created this mess. You're the one who wanted all these people brought in. It's over. I mean, it's just over. I'm sorry, their defense, they looked scared. By the end of that game, they looked scared. They didn't know what to do. So the Jets, the Rodgers experiment, failure. Go ahead, move on.
It's over.
It's done. I mean, all these guys have gotten a ton of money to do nothing but make idiots of themselves on the field. Sorry.
Well, there you go again.
Wow. Okay, so Robert Saleh will be the second coach this year to lose his job. I'll just throw that out there.
Oh,
probably so.
Probably so.
Okay, I want to throw out another topic that's near and dear to Lugs' heart. His name is Captain Kirk Cousins. Thoughts? And they're already calling for his head, or what's happening in the ATL? T-Dog.
I'll start off. I mean, I know this is painful, J-Boy, because I know this is Lugs is licking his chops, but
he's waiting.
I gotta agree though with Lugs on at least this one on this week. Kirk Cousins doesn't look right, and again, this maybe also ties in with Aaron Rodgers, the Achilles, and this might be why they drafted Michael Penix. And might be why they didn't have Michael Penix play in the second preseason game, even though he was supposedly a backup. I know he's playing a great defense. I know T.J. Watt, after he got whistled for being offsides, where it looked like he perfectly timed a rush, he just went into Terminator mode. And poor Caleb McGarry had just a nightmare game where that right tackle was consistently just getting dog walked back into Kirk Cousins. But he played in shotgun the whole game. He was not under center. He seemed to move around gingerly. And those 2 interceptions, that was a man who did not want to get hit. He was just throwing it into like triple and sometimes double coverage because he just did not want to get hit. Lugs.
He's too shell-shocked, Lugs.
Well, I've never been a real fan. I always thought that he was adequate. He was far less than adequate in this game. And yeah, I, at the risk of kicking a man when he's down, he's just it's too much to come back from. You could just tell that leg of his. I mean, it was stiff. It was like he was still in a boot. But they've got all that money tied up in him. But I think Michael Penix, you will see second half of the next game if indeed Cousins doesn't perform better in the first half.
Dang,
man. I look at it a little differently. Okay, so with all the money that's flying around for quarterbacks right now, Kirk Cousins really that's not a bad deal that they made. He's like an insurance policy for $100 million rather than paying somebody $250 million. And they got Penix in the wings, and it might all work out for Penix, obviously, in the end. So give the man a shot. But you're right. Both guys with the surgeries didn't look so great this week. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. What they have the same? They get a twofer on that, or what happened there?
Yeah.
I'll just say that the only guy that, and again, this guy doesn't have his deep speed. Actually, if we're talking about coming back from Achilles injuries, give the victory flag to J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
Who came back also from a torn Achilles, had over 100 yards rushing off, I believe, off 11 carries for a Chargers win over the Raiders. So it looks like there are some people, but maybe J.K. Dobbins is the anomaly. My bad, he only had 10 carries. So, but yeah, we saw this before. Like Achilles injuries, usually guys come back, but usually it's multiple years before they kind of regain some of that bounce.
See, it's been 1 year for Rodgers and about 8 months for Cousins, maybe 9.
Captain Kirk, yeah.
Gosh.
And
just sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I just want to say, I think Fields played well enough that he should remain the starter.
Agreed.
I know he didn't do anything overwhelming, but that's what Pittsburgh is fine with being the team that wins, with Boswell's leg instead of trying to score touchdowns if their defense is going to play like that. And, he didn't make any mistakes. I know he didn't complete a lot of yardage, but he completed 73% of his passes. And, with him playing, mistake-free with that defense, it's going to equal W's a whole lot. Will that mean anything in the playoffs? I don't think so, but, I don't think they care about that.
You could be right. All right, we're going to move on here to sports of yesteryear and then come back, do some more games. A couple other toss-up questions. One, most important, I'll tease you with, TB12. We'll talk that over. What's up with that guy? But first, here's Lugs with his big, famous sports of yesteryear. Take it away, Lugs.
All right. In the My How Times Have Changed department, 1918, Boston Red Sox and Chicago Cubs players threatened to boycott the World Series unless they are guaranteed, listen to this, $2,500 for the winners and $1,000 for each of the losers. 1937, Cleveland Rams play their first NFL game and lose 28-0. The team eventually moves to Los Angeles, then St. Louis, and finally back to L.A. 1950, Joe DiMaggio becomes the first player to hit 3 home runs in a game at Griffith Stadium. And this is for the friend of the show, Roger Taylor. 1978, the single-point American Lotus driver Mario Andretti earns for finishing 6th at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza is enough to clinch his first Formula One World Drivers' Championship. And finally, 1989, 5 days after hitting a home run for the Yankees in a 12-2 win over the Mariners, Major League and NFL player Deion Sanders returns a punt 68 yards for a touchdown, the first for the now dubbed Coach Crane. That's it for this edition of Sports of Yesteryear.
Thank you so much, Lugs. Oh, wait, we have a caller on the line. Hang on a second.
Hello, I got a question for Lugs. Lugs, what do you think of Jerry Jones giving Dak Prescott all that money And follow-up question, why do you call him Pat Paul? Why do you call Jerry Jones Pat Paul? I'll hang up, Mr. Answer. Bye-bye.
All right.
Who is that guy? What was that?
Pappy fell out of his rocker and hit on his head to the tune of 250 million mistakes. Is what that is. I mean, seriously, Dak Prescott. Let's see, how many playoff games has he won? How close have they gotten to the Super Bowl? And they got shellacked last year by a bunch of kids from Green Bay. That's a mistake. But, Jerry gave Zeke all that money, then packed him off, and now he brought him back. So, although against Cleveland, the Cowboys, I got to give it to them. They look pretty good.
T-Dog Lugs slinging some hash at the Cowboys, man. Your thoughts on the Dak deal?
Again, I don't know. I guess he's my Kirk Cousins. I think he's a legitimately top 10 quarterback. I mean, if you want to put a lot of the fall apart on Green Bay, look, that defense fell apart, and that's why I think the Mike Zimmer addition by the Quinn subtraction, Dan Quinn extraction is a big thing for him. I think Quinn has a good system, but it's very template. He doesn't adjust anything. Where Mike Zimmer, he schemes up things specifically for their opponent for that week. So that's why Zimmer might be hard to deal with personality-wise, but I think it's a huge upgrade actually on their defense with Zimmer. You just wonder if these younger guys will be willing to put up with it, because you had that problem with Fangio and with the Dolphins. But I think Zimmer is an upgrade. I think Dak Prescott is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I agree with Lugs in that I know he hasn't won a whole lot, but I honestly think Cowboys, it's stars and scrubs. It's Dak Prescott, it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Micah Parsons, and they have some good offensive linemen and Diggs, their corner. But a lot of other guys, they don't have a lot of big name players. It's not a great roster overall. So they're being supported by 5 or 6 studs and then just a bunch of guys doing their part.
Yeah, time will tell on Dak and Jerry, the Papaw relationship. Okay, hey, one quick toss-up question. Tom Brady as color commentator #1 on Fox Sports next to Kevin Burkhardt. Your thoughts? What did you think, Lugs? What did you think of TB12?
Well, I think what he needs to do is realize there's a game going on. So when he's going anecdotal, he needs to shut up. 2 or 3 times, you could tell Burkhardt was trying to say, we got a game here, sort of. And Tom's waxing poetic about some story. This ain't the Friars Club. We're not here to swap stories, dude. We're watching a football game. Shut up and let the man who calls it call it. That was my take.
T-Dog, you ever been to the Friars Club? What's that like?
I have not. I've seen Friars roasts.
So what did you think of the TB man, the Tom Brady?
You know what? I didn't get to see it. I was.
That's
busy.
probably the best reaction possible, actually.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all. Look, I enjoy Dak Prescott and some other players on the Cowboys, but for the most part, if I don't have to watch the Cowboys, I don't watch the Cowboys.
Ooh, well, wait, we just heard a boycott here on the broadcast. Okay, we understand that. Here's what I'll say about him. He doesn't have a very distinctive voice, first of all, so it doesn't really punch through. He's not controversial. And he's just rather simple, nothing exclamatory. Not that you need to have a hot take, but I think he needs to just work. I think they kind of did a disservice to him to put him as the #1 guy when Greg Olson was quite good, and is now their #2 guy. So, I guess time will tell. But I don't think he's terribly distinctive. Smart football guy, not so sure he's smart on his feet, if you will.
And again, my Cliff Kingsbury of announcers, him hanging out with Jim Gray for all these years. I think that's also really hurt his development as a guy who's going to go into broadcasting. Jim Gray, a man who's never added anything to any broadcast he's been a part of, Jim Gray.
Dull as can be, and Lugs, you're on a VU meter when things are just. That's kind of Jim Gray. He never goes up or down. Hi, it's good to be here today. I'm Jim Gray. You're right.
How has this man had such high-profile jobs for so long? I don't know. At least Tom Brady, he's got all the hardware, and he's by most people's standards the best. I understand he's maybe never going to be a great announcer. He at least has the accomplishments. Jim Gray, I have no idea what he's ever done.
Agreed. He wrote a few books. Doesn't have a good voice. I know. I don't understand America anymore. Yes.
In the other stuff department, fellas, have you noticed how many Broncos there are on the roads these days? In the past year, I've just been seeing them everywhere. It's amazing to me in the various, forms of that vehicle. It's crazy.
And this portion of the broadcast brought to you by the Ford Motor Company, makers of the all-new Bronco. Stop by your local Ford store where there's more in store today.
And another thing about vehicles, what's with the ducks in the dashboards of Jeeps?
Okay.
Somebody.
Thank you, Mr.
That's a Jeep thing.
You wouldn't understand. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, T-Dog. That's exactly what that
It's
is.
a Jeep thing. They have like a wave. They wave to each other.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. If you know Jeep people, they are really into Jeeps, and that's all I'll go into. I'm not going to go into it any more than that.
So I have a friend who has a Bronco. I said, dude, you ought to get little mini ponies and put them on other Bronco owners' hoods, and you could start a national phenom like the Ducks for the Jeeps, right? Buy them little baby horsies like that.
Yeah.
Squish them down, put them on the dashboard. All right, 5 minutes we got to go. Anything else you want to cover? Any other games? Anything we miss here? TB?
I know because even though we've been talking about Sundays, I'll just do a little thing on Saturday, and then I'll let Lugs take over because I know that's his real big day to flourish. Random thoughts on college football from Saturday. Iowa's inability to develop a 21st century offense kills them yet again. Matt Rule is building the Huskers up slowly like he did at Baylor, so I think Nebraska's on the rise. Texas lived up to their rankings. They went into the Big House and they beat them down, very businesslike.
Yep.
And Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback, he feels like he should be a supporting character in a Richard Linklater film. If you see him, if you've seen him, he feels like he should be like running a gas station in like just some random scene in a Richard Linklater film. So Cam Rising, who's I believe 26 years old.
Good God.
So
Lugs, how about those Northern Illinois Huskies and the Notre Dame beatdown?
Well, that I think is one of those true examples of looking ahead. Both coaches and players at Notre Dame, they were just looking ahead, and they got their butts kicked. And good for that coach, man. That was as an emotional win as you'll ever see from anybody. So good for those guys.
Yep, my brother went to Northern Illinois, fond of DeKalb and the cornfields. But, yeah, how about the Huskies? Love that. Love NIU, and good step for them. And they say the biggest upset in their school's history, so you don't get that one every week. And they got paid, $1.2 million, I think, to play that game at South Bend. So that's what you call a win, and a win for them. All right, anything else? We got about a couple of minutes.
Nope.
I was just going to say real quick, too, is on the opposite side of that Nebraska game, Deion, hopefully he's investing his money wisely. I don't know how long they have. Because, again, even though Nebraska's on the rise, they're not really rebuilt yet. And the way that their defensive line consistently tore through, and I mean, if Shedeur Sanders makes it through the season, I'll be surprised. The amount of hits and just bludgeons he's going to get. I just don't see it working out. I mean, this is year 2, and they didn't address their offensive line, it feels like, and it's going to be a long, long season for Colorado.
All right, we'll see what happens to Coach Prime. That'll bring to a close this episode of Sports and Other Stuff, brought to you in part by Austin Chiropractic, reminding you to remember the 5 most dangerous words. Maybe it will go away. There's a guy who recites that there every day. He works for us sometimes, but he works for them most of the time. His name is
Fish. And this week, Fish gets a collecting to mark the debut in 1953 of the world's first TV dinner. That's right, the culinary laughingstock pioneered by Swanson sold 5 million trays in its first year and has sold trillions since. This dubious adventure in Kitchen Kitch begins Saturday at 1 p.m. with the meal that debuted all those years ago: turkey, cornbread stuffing, frozen peas, and sweet potatoes. The day will be topped by a marathon of the black and white classic, Leave It to Beaver. Admission is $20. All proceeds benefit the June Cleaver Fashion Faux Pas Experience. Come on down.
and special appearance by Eddie Haskell if you get there early. Thanks, guys, for watching and listening to Sports and Other Stuff. We'll be here next week. So long for now. Bye-bye.